Let's see how it works. I'm going to unmute and see if we still, and maybe you can stay muted on StreamYard. Let's see if that helps. So, Light of Gold PR team, I just tried unmuting on my end. It might work okay. We'll see how that works. So, let's continue to talk a little bit about content. Say you're promoting, and you can look at us as a test case. We usually take a lot of our content, we repurpose it across different channels. Sometimes we change the messaging a little bit to fit our followers on Instagram. We might change it up a little bit for LinkedIn. We might change it up again for Facebook, because all of these areas have different communities that are there that we're connected to. So we might tweak the content. We might also change the images. So that's something to always consider, that you can use similar messaging, but go ahead and customize it for that particular audience. And making sure that your content is also repurposed from your website. So many times we work with clients and they totally forget to put on their website new products, new services. They go straight to their social media and they leave out ground zero, which is your website, right? So you have to make sure you're incorporating your website into your promotions, any new specials, any new services, any services or products that you no longer promote or have. Make sure it's updated on your website first, and then your social media should follow suit. Are you making good use of hashtags? Are you using hashtags to try to engage other followers and communities in other areas? Are you tagging each other? When we even promoted this event, we tried to make sure that Pierre is tagged, or Pierre will go ahead and drop a comment for any of the posts, because his image is in a lot of the promotions for this particular Marketing Monday. So lastly, I'm just going to mention, and I'll turn it over to Pierre to chime in, because this is a conversation. Do you have a Google profile? That's really important. We have one. And so a lot of times we go ahead and put information on our Google profile. And trust me, I get it. It's not always easy to keep all of these areas updated. We understand that. We go through the same thing ourselves. How do we keep all this updated to where we are now as far as promoting our events? So what we try to do is make sure we're using a calendar. Some areas might be more updated than some others, but what we do try to do is do like a compliance check. Go ahead and check and poke in all these different areas. Like Serena, who's on our team, she let us know that our Facebook pages were not updated with our new event, and we forgot about that. And so that we have the benefit of having team members that kind of look in different areas, and they're like, you know what, Deb, we haven't updated the Facebook page to reflect that we have our women's event coming up on March 31st. So that's a real life example. We often go through that. We know you do too. We're a small company, and sometimes the thing you want to make sure of is that at least you try to get to up to a couple of months out, where maybe you might be a little bit behind, but never years. Like, we'll go to some other people's Twitter page or Facebook page. It hasn't been updated since like 2020 or 2021. That's not good. And so you always want to make sure that you're doing your best to make sure things are updated. And then, of course, lastly, live streams like we're doing right now. They're always good to engage your audience, to talk to your followers directly. Even if it's a video, maybe it's a video that you record and then that you post, you could do that too. But live streams are really great. And we know that personally for engaging your audience. So just always keep that in mind. And so, Pierre, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll add a few things here. I'll try to add from an analytics perspective. You are right. I think the big problem, I think right now, is that there's so many options that a small business owner faces today that can feel a little overwhelming in figuring out where they should be updating, what they should be doing now. For tuning your analytics, there is a little bit of an answer. If you have Google Analytics on your site, you can go back and look at the referral traffic and get a sense of which sources of traffic are contributing to your site, And doing that, you can actually kind of rank where your exposure. So, for example, let me get like the quick example would be, let's say that you have a very strong social presence, you also have a very strong search presence, and you are running digital ads left and right. But you find within your analytics that in your referral traffic that actually Twitter and let's say TikTok are sending more people to your site than say Facebook and search, and not just more people, but also more people who are converting. And converting could be signing up for a conversion is when someone visits your site or app and they actually take a particular action, signing up for a registration, purchasing your book, or purchasing your product. So when you can use that as kind of a gauge to figure out, if more of my exposure is on this one particular traffic platform, this is probably where I need to focus on to get a message out, to let people know, what's going on. And that can work for you even if you're redesigning a website. I can say that from firsthand. We're actually working on ours as I speak. So a lot of times that can help organize your time a little bit and know where to focus on. And it also makes a big difference in a crisis. I shared this before when in Charlottesville, when they had a couple years ago when they had the white supremacists come through and everything else, there was a brand of torch. I can't think of the brand though, but they went on Facebook and denounced the rally. And the reason they did Facebook was because their largest audience was on Facebook. It wasn't on the other platforms.
Yes.
So sometimes you have a crisis. And I know, Deborah, you're very well with that because of PRs as well, too. Sometimes having a crisis and knowing where your audience is can make the biggest difference.
Yes. Yes.
One quick tip I'll add in here, too, is that when you're looking at your analytics, I know this is now January, we're getting ready to hit February now, Black History Month. Yay. We've had 31 days of marketing performance on our websites and apps. That can give you at least an indication of where things are going as well too. Make the comparison between 30 days now and then maybe just say like over 60 days and see if there's some sort of trend that's emerging for your website, for your sales online. That can also help you kind of figure out where things are merging. This whole thing of the pandemic made such a big shift in how we work with each other, and that shift has played out online. And so you may have some behaviors that are a little bit different because of the pandemic. But if you don't have enough time to go back through all that data, start a little bit with the last 30 days, the last 60 days to kind of get at least an initial glimpse. You get at least some trending. There may be some things statistically that you may have to do more of to get a forecast from, but at least you have a starting idea of where to go.
Right.
Two quick tips. I hope we were still hoping. Keep me on time, Deborah. Right?
Yep. Don't worry, I will.
Okay. So two more quick tips I would say is also look at your geographic reports in Google Analytics as well too. A lot of times we always talk about audiences being online, but we can use those geographic reports to kind of tell if people are coming from certain regions a little bit more than others. That can help you again in your social media and trying to figure out what is the right hashtags to use. Maybe there might be a local hashtag for New York that might work better than Chicago because people in New York are coming to your website and app more frequently. So that can also help with organizing your time a little bit.
Yeah.
And then finally, don't forget to use your dashboards. Your social media dashboards can also help you in organizing your time. I apologize, I got a little tricky going on, but
it's okay.
That can also help you with trying to organize your time, and it can also help you with spam, which is really important right now. I know with Twitter, I can say on firsthand, I've had people come and follow, and some of those folks are folks I don't want. So what I do is I actually do an audit weekly and clear off the followers, so that way I'm communicating to the people who I want to communicate. And again, that can also help you in organizing your time. So keep these tips in mind. They won't get you the full analytics, but at least get you a little bit of organizing so that way you don't feel overwhelmed, which is a big part of trying to kind of figure out what to do and what to say.
Right. So I wanted to chime in. Thank you for that, Pierre. Thanks so much. Yeah, that was great how you just broke all that down. Just as far as where people can look for their analytics. I know for us, when we create a post, we go specific, like on Instagram, for instance, we go to our insights area just to kind of see, where people are coming from, where we're experiencing the most engagement. Those are the types of things that we look for. Same thing with LinkedIn. If we're looking at LinkedIn or Facebook, we try to look at where is everybody tuning in from. What's so great about LinkedIn, if we talk about LinkedIn separately, is that they also talk about the titles of the different people who are viewing, like how many people, where they're engaging from, what links are they clicking on, and maybe what title, what areas, and everything. So, can you think of any additional areas that people can check also, uh, Pierre, to see where their analytics are coming from? Like, if depending on where they are looking, like if they're on Twitter, where would be a good place for them to click to find out their analytics?
Usually there's each social media platform has their own analytics, and I
Yes.
see this with the air quotes too,
Yes.
because a lot of those are basically designed to help you understand within a particular platform. So tie into the Google Analytics for a second. Use the Google Analytics, like I said earlier, to look at each referral source. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you go to that referral source, you can look at your business profile. Like Instagram, for example, in the business profile, there is a section where you can look at Instagram Insights, if I remember the name correctly. And you can look and kind of see what the activity is. So what you're doing is kind of getting a sense of what activity is working on that particular platform. Use
Yes.
the Google Analytics to kind of centralize that.
Yeah.
And one quick point, I mentioned Google Analytics quite a bit. Google Analytics is a web analytics solution, or at least we call it digital basic
Mm-hmm.
for all intents and purposes. There's a lot of different variations of it. Multimodal is one, and there's another one called Adobe Analytics. It's also really good. But the point of this is that you want to use those as a central analytics to kind of help you figure out what's going on in your site or app, and then but also look at the referral traffic on those to help you figure out to order which social media you should be looking at. And
Yes.
that will help you again on the organizing a little bit, figure out where you should be focusing on your time quite a bit. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely helpful because even for us, we find that maybe we get more engagement on a Facebook for our events. And so we put a lot of our time into our Facebook, or maybe we plan our time differently on Facebook. We might boost, um, with a Facebook ad or something like that. If we are trying to engage different types of attendees for an event, then we would also post an event on LinkedIn, and we would engage a little bit differently on LinkedIn, because each social media outlet has their own, community. Everything is different based on each one. And I found years ago, and we advise our clients to think about this too, is when you create that, we like to repurpose the messaging, but we like to customize the messaging, because there used to be a time that you could post the same thing across the board, but we have to tweak it up a little bit because of the communities that we've cultivated in those different areas. So that's always something to keep in mind too. And TikTok is definitely emerging to be, and it has been for a while, where a lot of advertising dollars are now going over there. A lot of people are starting to reinvent their social media to go over to TikTok. So it's definitely, a player now, for just depending on what it is that you're selling or how you're choosing to sell. Now services can now be packaged into product, and that's across the board, whether it's like ebooks, or now your consulting could be packaged as an ebook, right? Or it could be a blog post, right? Pierre, because you blog on Medium, correct?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and some
yes.
other
And I'm also
areas.
contributing on CMS Wires. So yeah,
Right.
it gets to be quite a bit. And I think
Yeah, it
it becomes
does.
a lot of things to organize. So
Yeah. Yeah. Staying organized and having a plan and a strategy is really, really important. And trust me, we get it. We understand how difficult and challenging it could be. So, we usually always advise our clients to really stick to a plan, and really a schedule, for everything, because a lot of it can be overwhelming. I find that there are some people and some professionals and businesses, they like to go live, which we like to do as well, but we really try to be very intentional, even for me and Pierre and we plan for this. We plan for this live. I will go live at other times intermittently that's not connected to a workshop or a marketing Monday or wellness Wednesday. So those could be a little bit impromptu, but then when you are intentional about an ongoing, live or post that you're doing consistently, it's just helpful to be very intentional with who you're trying to get to, what you're trying to say, maybe even planning topics out. And trust me, we live and breathe this because we have to do it for ourselves as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's more tools that are helping us, I think, to organize. No, there's been a lot of buzz about Chat GPT over the last couple of months and everything else. And if you haven't heard this, it's basically a chat bot that people are treating as a search engine, basically.
Yeah.
It's helpful, but it also means that it really is introducing another level of organizing in some ways because it gives a summary when you're asking a question, but there's been a lot of controversy over depending on the topic. Some things it's a little bit not quite as accurate about. I can say from the developer standpoint that it's not quite as accurate. So the idea is that a lot of times you are trying to figure out, it's you're trying to figure out what questions to ask and also what sort of trying to refine those questions, I think, is becoming important. And we're probably going to see a lot of that in this coming year quite a bit. So,
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I could definitely, see that happening as well. One thing we don't want to sleep or forget about is just traditional emails, follow-up emails, phone calls, all that kind of stuff is still, you still have to market that way because you could create all these posts and everything, and then maybe not, it may not lead to sales. So, email is still very relevant. I think we talked about this when we did. So for everybody, both Pierre and I are members of the Greater New York Chamber. We did a holiday marketing webinar together, and we did talk a little bit about email and maybe how to segment out your email. Some email can go on autopilot, maybe to anybody that you've reached out to who maybe they're not interested right now. Maybe they're interested 6 months to a year from now. And then maybe they should get a different kind of email, just like a check-in email. Then you have those people who you just met at an expo. We, been vendors at lots of events before. And how do we approach those folks? Well, we just met them. And so they would get a different kind of email. But even if they express that, hey, we love what you do, but we're not interested right now, or we love what you do and we really need something within the next 30 days. That being said, then we have to approach that a little bit differently, and we segment out how we approach all of our emails just to make sure that it's making sense. And we realize that even with email, sometimes going into spam, those follow-up calls, I know if Helena was on this call, she would say, yeah, I just like to pick up the phone. She's that person. And we are actually talking about an outreach call strategy ourselves, because a lot of times there's interest, but sometimes solidifying that deal requires a phone call or a meeting, which, Calendly has really helped us significantly as far as setting up appointments, but just making sure that you're incorporating that into your strategy and not sleeping on, the traditional ways of marketing, which sometimes happen. Everybody puts all of their energy into digital and social media, and they forget about the traditional marketing.
yeah, yeah. And I think I think it's even about just basically customers don't always how can I put it? They do keep up. Don't get me wrong, but they don't not. There's still some customers who still love email.
Yes.
You can use there's still some people who Deborah, I know you've seen this too. There's still people who come up and say, what's Twitter? How do I use
Right.
Twitter?
How do I even use that? What is that?
And it's
Yes.
like and that's okay. I told somebody the other day. It's like a new feature on a car. Just because the manufacturers have to add it for a government regulation doesn't mean that all of a sudden that people will rush out to buy the car.
That's right.
It gets worked in over time.
Yes.
And all this with digital media is the same sort of thing too. So having being aware that that what your customers are best responding to is part of the whole
Yeah.
And a lot of times email is also part of that process too.
Right, right. Yeah, we can't forget about the email. We also can't forget if we're using like a constant contact or MailChimp or something like that. That's the other thing that we look at from an analytics standpoint is what is everybody clicking on? What is everybody interested in? Where are they going and what's the open and close what's the open rate? Like we'll find that depending on what we're sending out, what we're using, that gets impacted too. So we do look at those analytics as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. It's important. And so I know that we're about 26 minutes in, so we got about 4 minutes left. Pierre, please share with everybody how they could get in contact with you.
Well, I am available online quite a bit. LinkedIn is probably one of the best ways to get a hold of me right now. Still have some exposure on Twitter, but we've actually been playing around a little bit with different platforms. But LinkedIn, you can find the Zimana page, Zimana Analytics, and that's spelled Cimana Analytics. You can find that on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Pierre Debois as well. You can
Hmm.
also find Zimana on Instagram and on Twitter. And then also, if you doing digital marketing, if you're doing reading, I am on CMS Wire, but I've been a contributor for the last 8 years now, basically. So you can
Nice.
find me there. I occasionally give articles there as well, and on Medium, I also do a little bit of writing up there. My Medium articles are a little bit of a mix of marketing and also art programming. I know Deborah has heard this a million times from me, but I also do a lot of the data modeling, which gets into the data science part. So there's things with R and Python. I do articles on that to help out others, to help them to kind of get going there as well.
Right, right. So, Pierre knows his stuff, everybody. So, yeah, please feel free to reach out and connect with him if you have a need for his services or you have any questions for him. He's definitely, as you could tell from this live, he totally knows his stuff. So we definitely. Um, Anybody have any questions? I haven't seen any comments. Nothing in the comments. Nobody has any questions at all. So that's fine. You can always circle back to us as we're sharing this when this is posted. Feel free to, if you're watching this a little bit later, feel free to ask us questions. We love answering them and circling back. You could definitely go to lightofgoldpr.com and just go ahead and chime in there, connect with us there, all or on all the social media. You could message us as well. We're happy to answer any additional questions that you might have. But hopefully this was of value to you because knowing your numbers and knowing your strategy, is just really important. I think a lot of small businesses, depending on the size, solopreneurs, startups, not everybody knows their numbers. Even medium-sized businesses, sometimes they don't know their numbers, and it really does impact your marketing because knowing your numbers and looking at the analytics helps you to make certain decisions on what to continue or what to tweak or what to change. Wouldn't you say, Pierre?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely, definitely. Without the numbers, you don't really. You need a little bit numbers and context. That's what you need to kind of get some idea of where you need to spend
Yes.
your time.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we just know that it's really super important. And we just encourage you to kind of pay attention to your numbers, look at your tactics. Sometimes making a change, a lot of times we attach ourselves to a 3 month strategy to see how everything works. And then we'll go ahead and try something different, after those 3 months. Or if something's working really well, we'll continue, to do that also. So, but thank you so much, Pierre, for joining us. You are our first 2023 Marketing Monday guest. So thank you.
Well, I'm honored, and
Yes.
really, this was fun. I really appreciate being here. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. Thank you for joining us, and thank you everybody who's been watching or who will watch this. And like I said, you can get in touch with either one of us. You can always message me if you can't get in touch with Pierre. I'll make sure you will get connected to him for sure. And go ahead and join us on Clubhouse. We're about to be on there at 2 o'clock. So take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Have
Bye
a
bye.
good one. Take care. Bye bye. So we're actually saying bye twice. So bye everybody on
Hey.
StreamYard.
Oh, wait, hold on.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, now I can hear you.
I know, I forgot. I just turned you off on Instagram. But thanks everybody for watching. So we're going to say goodbye again.
Bye-bye.